Okay, I want to get this one done as soon as possible because there's a lot of complaints in this line. So we're going to go over the most aggravating ones first. Well, granted, self-sacrifice is actually good, so that one's not going to be bitched about much. So we have Dampening Field and Silencing Field. Silencing Field, pretty simple. You throw it out, it silences enemies in the area, meaning they can't use abilities, but it builds determination so fast that it's not good on enemies. It's actually really only good on giving your team crowd control immunity before an engage. So, instantly, Silencing Field is garbage. It costs too much to run anyways, and you cannot attack while you're doing it. So, it just immediately dump truck status. Just throw that motherfucker to the garbage man. He's going to take it away. It's going to get compacted, and, you know, it might be buried in the ground, sent to a landfill, or somebody might dig through it to, you know, find that amazing shit that you might have left there. Let's go over to Dampening Field now, which has a little more use. You know, you can use it. It, you know, increases the cooldown of enemies nearby. Fantastic and all. But, you know, its energy cost is not fun. If this ability had no energy cost, then it would actually be useful. Now you might say, yeah, that's overpowered, but there's risk and reward in this. In this game, obviously, you know, it's a team-based aspect, and therefore, when you do this and you're on a target, you're hurting your entire team by using this ability if they get in range. So, all in all, it already has a punishment effect. And you'll notice when I wasn't attacking, I regen, so I mean I have to show it actually draining my energy. It drains it very slowly, but it still drains the energy. So I immediately consider that not worthwhile. You could probably use it, you know, to piss people off and lower their DPS considerably, but it's going to hit your team as well. So I mean, there's, as I said, there's already risk to reward. That's the only reason why I would even consider this as garbage status. Unless, like, you know, you're the only person that's using close range combat, or you have a bunch of enemies on you and your team is dealing with some other people, and, you know, the only thing that's happening is people are healing you from a range while dealing damage to the rest of them because they're trying to get rid of you. So, like, say if you were a healer and you're just doing this, and, you know, you're healing your team, people are on you, but they're doing dick for DPS because you hit their cooldowns by 30 to 50%. Okay, that makes sense. But the cost is going to still hurt you at some point in time because you're not going to get that extra regen. You know, you activate this, like, at least while you're doing this, like, even when you're auto-attacking, you can at least regen. There is some regen there. Dampening Field just shouldn't have a cost. If you're going to put a little bit of a cost on it so it fucks passive regen, you might as well not have a cost at all. Sponge Form. Now, these icons are going to look very familiar to you if you run Totem, or have had some with Totem in your team. They're exactly the same. So, Sponge Form gives you the same buff as Revitalize. Now, I don't know if when you level it, it gets higher. Maybe it gets stronger. Okay, that makes sense. But then again, it also doesn't specify whether or not the damage debuff also gets stronger. So, again, you immediately throw this in the trash bin because of the fact, why reduce your damage, especially if you're going to run at a team and you're going to soak damage like that? Because why are you going to willingly kill your damage like this? Like, that would do 34 or so. Actually, let's go to like 26. Can we get a 26? No, we'll just sit here for a 25. Once it comes off, 34. You're not going to kill your damage like that. That's stupid. And even then, like I said, you can hit Revitalize. You get healing increased on yourself. You get the resistance. And you get health over time. So, I hate to break it to you, Sponge Form is trash unless you're solo. And even then, the damage reduction is going to be worse than what you did. Rock Form. Only complaint I have about this one, there's no information in the tooltip to tell me whether or not the mental damage received increases as the physical damage received is actually in effect. If it stays at 30%, I get 80% physical resistance. Okay, but that information needs to be present. That's the only reason I'm putting this in, like, you know, semi-garbage tier, because of the fact, say if it increases your physical resistance by 80%, but increases the damage you take from mental by 80%, why the hell are you going to do that when staff has one of the highest bursts in the game? As soon as they see you do that, they're going to eat you the fuck alive. So, pretty much on that. Aggressive leap. This one aggravates me on all levels. Damage is listed there. It does not specify it goes from 80 to 120. You get 2 damage per level. That's the first thing. And it's the only gap closer in this line. It does stun targets in the radius it's intended to, but when you stun targets, you get silenced for the same duration they get stunned for, which doesn't make any sense. So basically you're jumping in to silence yourself, so you're not doing that extra damage other than on the leap. It is a very short range leap, and even then, as you saw, my circle was over the target and I did not leap onto them. That happens more often than not. So that's very frustrating. It's really depressing, actually. So aggressive leap, good for, you know, that I'm going to jump in, I'm going to stun people, but the fact that it silences you immediately puts us at garbage tier. Like, yeah, you could jump in like, hey guys, I stunned them all. Again, attempted to jump onto them to no avail. I don't know. Sorry, I had my phone claimed I had missed calls and telemarketers. Anyways, aggressive leap, you know, poor base damage, like, you know, 80 base damage. Not 120, not 160, 80 base damage. The only thing going for it is its relatively low cooldown. You know, 15 seconds goes down to 10 seconds. But the fact that it silences you puts us in trash can tier. And you're silenced. You're not attacking. You're not going to be able to attack. All your shit's blanked out. So unless the silence is removed, yeah, you can use it for gap closing. Yeah, you can use it for the stun, you know, to help your team. But it's so bad that it silences you that it's just not worth doing. We're going to go ahead and quickly go to Transform Pain. Try and find a mob that's easy to test it on. But the gist of it is, you activate it, it puts a shield around you. The next hit that hits you, you get healed for the amount of damage it would have done to you, and obviously you don't take damage for whatever it would have done to you. So, there we go. We got a scythe user right there. Oh, nope, I don't want him because he does a damage over time, and that is not what will activate it. There we go. Let's get this guy. So he's going to go ahead and hit me. 24. So he's going to hit me again. Oh, sorry. It might have been 26. Anyways. So I'm going to try and just keep him at bay. I'm going to do it again. Hit Q. Poke me. Oh, nope. He's going to hit me thereafter. Anyways. Needless to say, as you can see, you know, it heals me for the amount of damage that it did. But for the cost of the ability, which at rank 1, you know, it does 75 or 65, which isn't a lot. But, you know, if we go over the same aspect, I could have used Revitalize for, you know, 200 energy, gotten a heal and a heal over time, and a resistance buff, and I could attack for that duration. Not like, oh, well, guess what, guys? I'm pretty much useless until I get hit. And the fact that it can only heal for that one hit, so let's go over some multi-hit abilities here. So we go for Burst Shot. You're not going to get healed by for its entirety. If you get hit by Hurricane, you're not going to get healed for its entirety either. You're going to get hit that first time, and then that's it. If we go for Bow, oh yeah, we already said that. Salvo, only one of those hits are going to heal you, even though 5 hits can hit you. If we go to the Flurry of Thrusts, again, that first hit is going to heal you, but then the consecutive hits thereafter will not. So any multi-hit abilities, it doesn't do anything. So unless Transform Pain gets a modifier where, you know, while you have this active, it has increased conversion, which is not stated in the tooltip, it's not explained. The only thing you know is that your cooldown goes lower and your cost goes lower. So unless it had a flat healing amount whenever you actually block damage, it immediately falls off on being like, you know, oh, that could be useful to, well, fuck, that was a waste of time. So we're going to throw on some other abilities because, you know, I'm trying to make this short because this is one of those more controversial skill lines that I would like to not take up a lot of time on because, I mean, I'm already at 11 minutes. So let's try and not put a bunch of goddamn time on this video. So we're just going to put some abilities on here. So we're going to knock out the other two. Meat Shield. It starts at 3-second duration, even though before that it was only a second when it was at rank 1 a couple weeks ago. I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't know if they fixed it or something without putting in patch notes, but, you know, you activate it. I doubled the duration by... I could have left it at 9, and it would have been fine, but I don't know if, like, you know, there's a little bit of a factor there, like, say, since it says 0.2 and 0.4, I don't know if that's 0.41, 0.42, 0.43, etc., 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 because I do know the duration of it increases by 1 second for every 3 ranks, and it's currently at rank 10. So that 1 point might be wasted. I don't entirely know for sure. But what I do know, you know, this ability, when you activate it, it puts an area behind you for a second. Anyone behind you will get that resistance buff, and you will get a resistance debuff based on the activation of that ability. And it can be cleansed, just like, you know, they can cleanse the debuff from rock form, they can cleanse the debuff from sponge form, Juggernaut. You can also have the aggressive leap silence cleansed. So, I mean, there's that. But, of course, the only way to cleanse that is with a spear and shield user, which, I mean, that makes sense because it gives it a very strong role, a very strong position in the team, but it's the only one that can cleanse, and that's a very huge strength, but we'll leave that one alone. So we're going to go ahead and put Meat Shield back off of there, but basically starts at 30% damage reduction for your team, but makes you take 30% more damage. And as you can see at rank 10, it makes your team, or whoever's behind you, take 40% less damage, and you take only 20% damage increase. Which, of course, this goes up to 50% for your allies or whoever's behind you, and 10% for yourself for that instance. They must stack on you to be able to gain this effect. So the maximum duration, if it plays out the way I think it is, because at 12 I'm going to get 1 more second, 15 I'm going to get another, and 18 I'm going to get another. And depending on how it ranks up, because obviously I need to test ranks 11 through 20, that's going to be the deciding factor on if you're going to level this to 18 or 20. But, you know, you get 3 more seconds, so it's going to be 9 seconds of 50% damage mitigation and 10% damage increase to yourself. So all in all, this is a very good skill, as long as it keeps working as it's intended to. The only downside to this ability is that, you know, you go ahead and use it, and it's the same actual buff effect as Revitalize. I do not believe they stack. So there is that factor. You know, you go ahead and you use it, and like, boom. I don't know if they stack. I don't think they stack. If they do, awesome. But if they do, actually I'm being stupid, I can test it right now. I'm going to try and make sure this video stays under 20 minutes. So we're going to use it, hit him once, hit him with E, hit him again. No, see, as you can see, yeah, see, that's when the Revitalize takes effect, because you can see they're taking more damage. So we're going to do it again. Oh, and then of course it bugged out. That's cute. We're going to try this one more time. We're going to try and speed this up. Actually, while we're waiting for that cooldown, ignore pain. Makes you immune for the duration, but you will take damage from damage over time effects. The damage over time effects will stack on you, so it will do a considerable amount of damage if you take a damage over time effect while you have ignore pain up. It takes about roughly 150 health when you first use it. Well, more like 140. So when you max it out, it's going to take 2.5 more, so you're going to look at like, you know, about 350-ish health is how much it's going to take, but you're going to mitigate all the damage from direct damage abilities for 10 seconds, so very strong ability in situations. But if they use damage over time effects, it's going to eat you alive. Like here, I'll show you real quick. No, I won't show you real quick because I don't have poison. I grab that really quick because I should have had that on my bar to test that because now I'm wasting time. Let's throw that on my bar. So, immunity, poison. You're just going to watch my health just plummet. That whole time, health just getting wrecked. But anyways, so we have that. Now we're going to go ahead and do self-sacrifice because we want to get that one out of the way. It is a 30% heal in a very, 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 very small radius. You can move while doing it though, so that's a plus. And it can be buffed by Revitalize, meaning that 300 health on that Scarecrow can be buffed to 390, because like I said, I want to keep this video as short as possible. Juggernaut, turn into the big man. You get a lot of health, but you get a movement speed reduction. The duration can be increased by level, and the health obviously increases. At level 10, you get 600 health, and obviously since there's a 15 difference, you get a 7.5, 7.5 second duration increase to that. So I mean, you pretty much keep it up roughly all the time, so that's kind of nice. But the movement speed reduction does not actually decrease as you level it, and that needs to be changed, because at level 10 it should be 0.4 meters per second reduction rather than 0.8 meters per second reduction, so that's kind of sad. Meditation. I'm going to go over what this one does. It will dispel all debuffs and buffs on yourself. So let's say I hit Juggernaut, I hit 2, then I hit all this shit, and then I go ahead and I hit Meditation. I took all the debuffs off of me, all the buffs off of me. I take the healing per second, which obviously others can heal me. I can't throw any other healing effects around me because it dispels the effects, so you can't just throw up a healing totem and do that or anything like that. It will dispel dots in the area, and they won't reapply unless someone throws a new dot on you. But you take, I believe it's 30% more damage. It can be cleansed by a spear and shield, and you pretty much can't do anything while you're sitting. You just pretty much heal. So it's good for baiting in a group. When you're solo, I probably wouldn't recommend it unless you can get away from them, because most people are able to break that 80 healing per second, and even if they cannot, they will most likely end up draining your energy or something else, or pretty much attempt to do some form of burst. Because, I mean, even just the toxic spray from Totem, which that Totem probably has one of the lower DPS options, but, you know, you're able to get close to that 80 health per second. If you get up to 120, that's a lot harder to get to, but with a 30% damage increase, chances are they can, you know, go ahead and throw some damage on you, but Totem is probably the only one that will have trouble killing you during the time frame that you're using Meditation. So their goal will most likely be to just drain out your energy and try and keep your healing per second to a minimum while keeping their sustain the entire duration. Then let's go ahead and go back to Meat Shield. So we're going to hit the target, 25. We're going to hit the shield, 15, throw this, still 15, still 15. So once this effect runs off, it runs to 21. So they do not stack, but you will still keep that other benefit for the extra duration, so that's pretty nice. So again, Meat Shield, good ability, as long as it keeps working as intended. If you're able to get the debuff stripped off of you, it becomes that much stronger. But it's just like self-sacrifice. It's, you know, it's a team-orientated skill. Like, you will not gain any benefits solo. So if you do go Splint Mail, if you don't have a group, then don't run it. It's that simple. Do not run it if you do not have a group. I hate when that happens. You have to stand in specific positions to avoid not having your abilities fuck up like that. So we're going to go ahead and grab the extra abilities and put them back on my bar where they're supposed to be. That way, it's not as aggravating. So we already have that. We want our barge back on there, and 4 is going to be the healing seed. That way I have, my generalized ghetto support, because that way I know if I run into a buddy and, somebody tries to gank us both, I have some group support. So what we're going to do is we're going to run up to an NPC that I can find. He's going to chase me, and I'm going to say fuck you here in a second. Where'd he go? He's down there. Crack baby. Anyway, so I knock him back, they get rooted, I get movement speed. That's pretty much it. As you level it, it gets lower cooldown, so he ran back over here, so we're going to do it again. So, boop, and you can run. It's a very annoying ability because it's very hard to catch someone if you're melee to do damage while they're doing barge, and it applies such low determination. It's actually very strong. So this is easily Splint Mail's best ability, and it's insane anti-melee counter. Absolutely insane. And as you level it, it starts out at a 9-second cooldown to a 7-second cooldown, which doesn't sound like a lot, but between the root for 1.8 up to 2.3 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it still is, and then the movement speed increase, and of course the radius in which the knockback occurs, meaning you can hit them at the maximum range of your knockback, it actually becomes very viable. But all in all, the review for Splint Mail. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, I would probably say 4.5 to 5, because rock form, it's questionable whether or not it's garbage, because if it does increase the same way as the protections as it does for the damage received, then rock form immediately goes into garbage if you're fighting anybody that uses staff or totem, because even though totem doesn't have good burst, it still has solid DPS, and their damage over time is still going to go through anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then when you go to meditation, you're not doing damage while you're meditating, but at the same time, if no one cleanses, you take more damage, so that's sort of the half and half. Even though Transform Pain is more of the situation, at least meditation you can find a use out of combat, while Transform Pain, if someone uses a weak attack on you just to take off Transform Pain, all you did was waste your energy. Is pretty much it. If they use a basic attack and they hit you for a little bitch hit, okay, that wasn't worth it. Or they hit you with a multi-shot, so that way they take it off and they apply the extra damage while you're not doing any damage. It immediately falls into garbage tier. Juggernaut, the Snare not having its movement speed reduction actually reduce with level. Yeah, that's sort of annoying, but it's still a good ability for tanking. Aggressive Leap, if it didn't silence, it would actually be a much more effective and powerful ability, but because it silences you, it's counterintuitive to what you want to actually do, which is go in, CC, and deal damage, or, set up more crowd control. But instead, you jump in, you CC them, and you get crowd controlled at the same time. That doesn't make any sense. The 2 fields, one takes too much energy, it shouldn't cost any energy, and the other one, the silencing field, should have actually been a shout. You activate it, it silences people in the area for a decent duration, and that's it. Then you don't have to worry about it only being used for group fights to provide crowd control immunity for a team preemptively, versus what you intended it probably for, if developers are watching, which is actual crowd control. You can't attack during it, so I don't see the point they were trying to make with this ability. You just build up determination too fast, they get crowd control immunity, and you can't attack. There's legitimately no reason to use Silencing Field in that aspect. and once you turn it back off, the silence runs off. So really you can just activate it for a second to kind of troll and then turn it back off, but other than that, it's a wasted slot. And other than that, Barge, not Barge, Ignore Pain, it would be a much better ability if it didn't cost energy, didn't have an energy cost, because it already cost health technically, and you can't avoid that. You will always have that health taken away from you. You can sort of mitigate that with healing, but that's it. And then self-sacrifice, its radius is so incredibly small, it should probably increase with every single rank, but I haven't leveled it because Splint Mail isn't very good for solo play. It is fantastic for group play and holding a position, but compared to Leather and Robe, you have extremely limited mobility, you have very poor crowd control clear, you do not have any real, you don't have any gap closers either. You don't have really escape. You have one gap closer that silences you, and it's a very short range. And all in all, the only thing you actually do is you make it so your team has a presence so they last longer. That's all it is. You're a little more durable, but you move too slow. You can't chase anyone down. You can't actually do your job with every single weapon type. You could probably do it with bow. You could probably do it with the spear and shield, but everything else, you're not going to catch somebody if you're a staff user unless you have the snare from the ice bolt. If you're a war scythe, you have to get in range to pull. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to catch your targets. It's really just a fact of you have no gap closers, you have no crowd control clear, so right there between those two things, you immediately plummet in viability compared to just simply going Leather so you can have the movement speed buff from Captivating Sprint, or Tumble so you can teleport onto a target that attacks you, or Freedom to clear roots and snares. And even then, you have a energy regen effect, which is very strong. It keeps your sustain up all day, literally all day. You have Drain Life, which heals you. So, there's that. You have a reactive Transform Pain. That's a moot point. And even Meditation, it's I sit down and I heal, but I take more damage. But if somebody clears the debuff, it's OP. But I could do the same thing by going Aether Form, be completely crowd control immune, and then I could just go ahead and go in with a stun, hit my Draining Burst, and I'm going to heal, depending on how many people I hit. If I hit 2, it's 300. If I hit 3, it's 450. If I hit 4, etc., etc., etc. It just increases in the actual effectiveness, and I'm draining energy so I can re-energize my character. And it's just Splint Mail is the worst for open world, but best for defense. That's the best way to put it. If you're holding a position, Splint Mail is the best for it, but it needs to be in a group, or you need to play a weapon that will work with it. Otherwise, it won't work. Just go Robe or Leather. You'll thank me later. Otherwise, you could probably use Barge effectively on a bow or a staff. And maybe the Ignore Pain. Everything else, meh. So this video is a little long. It's 28 minutes, but that needed to be explained. You just move too slow on Splint Mail. That's pretty much it. You can't chase. You can't escape. You can only troll. That's what this armor does, is troll.